Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 76, brought to you as always by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, and by my good friend Dr. John Pierce, concierge medicine to the stars, at www.angelusforever.net. Today is April the 12th. It's Friday. It's game day. The Minnesota Wild are in town, and there's a pretty big topic to talk about that. But before we get into that stuff, I was out of town for a week and didn't get to see a whole bunch of the Golden Knights action. But according to the pre-show conversation with Mr. Chapman, there wasn't really much to see in the Arizona and Edmonton games. So, Chris, you want to give a quick recap on the Golden Knights suddenly losing 3 straight after we announced them all the way back? And I'll just wipe a little egg off my face.
Yeah, so Arizona game, maybe soon to be Salt Lake game, but outplayed in the first period, completely outplayed in the third period. They went through the motions. They played better in the second period, and they deserved to lose because they didn't show up to play. Vancouver game on Monday night, I guess. Similar type of thing. They got out. They played better in the first period, jumped out to a 2-0 lead. They scored 2 power play goals in the game, but special teams, they allowed 2 power play goals. So it was a bit of a wash. I'd say it was a pretty disappointing game because you get out to a 2-0 lead on a team that really you could be playing in the first round of the playoffs. And after that 2-0 lead, you're not the better team in that game. And the Edmonton game, fuck. No Connor McDavid, zero urgency from the Golden Knights. They got their ass kicked, and they absolutely deserve to get their ass kicked in that one. It was a pretty disgusting effort, I would say, the Edmonton game. I don't know what the hell happened, why they didn't show up, why there was zero urgency. But that brings us to tonight, Minnesota at T-Mobile. Final 4 games of the regular season, all 4 at home. It's kind of strange because I don't remember the Golden Knights really finishing up at home too many times, if ever. It seems like they're always finishing up on the road. So, look, 4 games, you go out, you win a couple games, you're in the playoffs, guaranteed. Still haven't clinched that playoff spot yet. 1 spot left in the West, and it comes down to these final 4 home games for the Golden Knights.
Well, after you said fucking no effort and everything like that, I don't have really anything to add. So, onward we go at warp speed. We're moving at warp speed. Oh boy, there's been a lot of news in Vegas Golden Knight land the last couple of days. Let's work backwards. About 10 o'clock this morning, Elliot Friedman broke news that is sure to piss off the Spitting Chicklets boys and the fan bases of... they've already commented about it. Paul Bissonnette has announced it's the greatest conspiracy theory since, well, he doesn't really know what a conspiracy theory is. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Stone has been cleared to practice, was in a non-contact jersey for the morning skate. Oh my God, can you believe that they've executed the plan again to perfection? I've already heard from numerous people around the NHL what cocksuckers we are and what assholes we are and how is our cap guy smarter than their cap guy and all that other stuff. But, it's such a glorious day. Listen, I'm incredibly happy for Mark Stone. A ruptured spleen after you ran into a building is no joke, right? But God, the hockey gods shine down upon us, and they just continue to reinforce us as the evil empire. And I, for one, absolutely love it. The downside, we've talked about it before: chemistry, cohesiveness, who's going to play with who, things like that. But honestly, in the scale of things, Chris, I don't give one big fat rat's ass about the chemistry if the captain's back in the lineup. Do you?
No, it really makes a big difference for this team. And to kind of jump on board, I don't really give a shit what people around the league have to say either. There's nothing the Golden Knights have done that is illegal. There's no rule that they've broken. And quite honestly, the people who are bitching and complaining, it's just sour grapes. Like, the jealousy, first of all, I wouldn't want to be in Mark Stone's position because I wouldn't want to have to go through multiple back surgeries, and then I wouldn't have to have a ruptured fucking spleen. Like, those are not things on my bucket list.
To-do list?
So for Mark Stone to have to go through those things in the last couple of years, look, here's the reality of the situation, Eddie. If Mark Stone doesn't rupture his spleen or lacerate his spleen, or I don't know what the difference between lacerated and ruptured is, to me, it fucking hurts. So if he doesn't go through that, the Golden Knights probably don't have Tomas Hertl. They might not have Noah Hanifin. It's just shit luck for the Golden Knights that this guy gets injured again. He misses the remainder of the regular season. Like, what blows me away from these people who are crying about it, do you really think that the Golden Knights want to be in a position where they have St. Louis nipping at their ass because with 4 games left, they still haven't clinched a playoff spot? I think they would rather have clinched a playoff spot a week ago and just kind of going through the motions to end the regular season. Unfortunately, it looks like the last couple of nights they've just gone through the motions anyway. But I don't think there's anybody in VGK land who said, yeah, you know what? Let's have Mark Stone go out and get injured because we want to break the rules. Like, that doesn't exist. There's no fucking planet that happens on where Kelly McCrimmon says, hey, Mark, you know what? You're having an incredible season. You're going to score 30 goals. You're going to go through 82 games. Why don't we put you on LTIR with this fake injury? That doesn't happen. And that's what these idiots out there are basically saying, that the Golden Knights intentionally put this guy on the injured list. Like, there's a process. He's got to go through independent doctors. The league has to approve it. They've got to sign off on it. Like, it's not like Kelly McCrimmon phones New York or Toronto and says, hey, guys, just for the fuck of it, we're going to put Mark Stone on LTIR for the last 3 months of the season. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because that's not the process. So I enjoy watching people like Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney and whoever else out there. I see Greg Wyshynski crying about it. The only, like, one of the few people I've seen who actually is like, hey, people, this is how it works, is the guy who covers the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic, and that's Michael Russo. He's been on top of it. Like, he's put out articles where he's talked to general managers around the league who basically don't give a shit what the Golden Knights are doing.
Nope.
Because they know, given the situation, they would do the same exact thing. And he's basically laid out the process for people who, if they subscribe to The Athletic, can certainly go back and read the article that he put out where he explains to people it's not as simple as you think. There is a very strenuous process that you have to go through in order to place a guy on LTIR. Hey, look, you know what? Let's look at it from this perspective. Mark Stone is injury prone. It just so happens he makes a lot of fucking money. It just so happens he's one of the highest paid players on the Golden Knights. I mean, Mark Stone makes $9.5 million against the salary cap. He also happens to miss a lot of time due to injuries. Nobody's crying about William Carrier missing time. The guy's missed a shitload of games. Nobody cried when Shea Theodore was hurt. Shea Theodore missed his time every single year. William Carrier doesn't play 82 games a year. But it's only when Mark Stone gets hurt. And I'm just going to end it with this. It would be irresponsible for the front office of the Golden Knights to let that $9.5 million just sit there and not be used to improve the team. You lose one of your best players, your captain. You have the ability to replace him due to the rules. So it would be irresponsible if they didn't go out and replace him. I don't give a fuck what people around the league say. I don't really care what fans say. Because you know what? If it was their team, I saw some idiot today. Oh, well, Tampa did it. The Golden Knights did it. Well, Colorado, they play by the rules. Hey, dummy, you do know if Gabe Landeskog comes back for the playoffs, the Avalanche have done the same exact thing that the Golden Knights and the Tampa Bay Lightning have done. So I don't want to hear
17 teams have used the LTIR exception this year. Only
Good.
one of them happens to be the defending Stanley Cup champs.
Good.
Now
Every team should use.
Go ahead. I'm gonna put on the Dr. Rivkin hat for just 1 second and tell you that the difference between a lacerated spleen and a ruptured spleen is rupture is basically if an organ pops, right? And laceration is basically if something
Like a
tears.
tear?
Right.
Okay.
So like if you see somebody and they got a jagged open wound, that's a laceration. That means the skin's literally been pulled apart. When your appendix ruptures, it literally gets so
Like
swollen that it pops like an overfilled balloon. So there's your medical tip of the day. Both of them probably suck an incredible amount and are incredibly painful. But once again, the evil empire is in full evil mode, and I, for one, I'm enjoying it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I would call myself for laughing at the misery of others. Maybe just a prick, but I find it endlessly entertaining. And then today, actually, there was a Golden Knights fan that said, "How much longer are we going to go on paying Mark Stone $9.5 million to play 60 games a year?" And I'm like, as long as they keep getting Stanley Cup rings, asshole. And that was the end of that discussion.
That's
but okay. Yeah. So that's the big news. That's the pregame hot news for the 12th. On the 11th, the evil empire signed Noah Hanifin, trade deadline acquisition, courtesy of Mark Stone's injury. See how I just sort of gently tied all of those things together into a little bow. 8 years, average salary $7.35 million. By all accounts, he might have given them a little bit of a deal. But the point is, a 27-year-old, and I'll say it again, I said it in episode 75, an underrated superstar, is locked up for the next 8 years in Golden Knightsville. And, the league didn't like that. Well, I don't know about the league. The fan bases didn't like that. But, you and I had speculated about it. Is he going to re-sign? Now, we know the Golden Knights don't do the big rental thing. That's really not their jam. So we knew that they've been working toward an extension. But the fact that they announced it, I think, is just massive. I mean, he is now the cornerstone of the defense corps till the, 2032 season? Something like that. You have to be happy about that, right, Chris?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was advocating as when we first started bringing it up that I thought they needed to re-sign him. What it does is you look at the Golden Knights roster construction for next season, and Ben Hutton, we love Ben Hutton, unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. Shea Theodore, unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. Nick Hague, Zach Whitecloud are both going to need new deals coming up. Like, you look, and I'll go through it right now. They have Shea Theodore and Brady McNabb. I'm sorry, Hutton is signed through 25, 26. So he's got 2 more years left on his deal. He signed the extension. But Martinez is a free agent this year. And then you got Theodore and McNabb both coming off the books next year. So the idea that you now have Noah Hanifin locked up, you have Alex Pietrangelo locked up, it doesn't become imperative that you re-sign Shea Theodore at the end of his contract. Sure, you'd like to if you're the Golden Knights. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean, I would think that they would like to. But what it also does is it makes Shea Theodore expendable. They may not want to re-sign him. In fact, they may want to clear some cap space. And if they were to move Shea Theodore, it would free up $5.2 million in cap space. That's a lot of money. You can go out and you can
go ahead
with what they have left to work with next year. And I know we're talking about Hanifin. But first of all, for Noah Hanifin, he gets a raise of about $6 million from the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
So no complaints there. You've got free agents up the ass this year. You've got Jonathan Marchessault. You've got Anthony Mantha. You've got Chandler Stevenson. And you've got Michael Amadio. Then the year after that, you've got a few more. You've got Brett Howden, Keegan Colasar. We already talked about Theodore and McNabb. So, not to mention both goalies. So, for the Golden Knights, they still have a few dollars left over. The problem is now, if you want to re-sign Marchessault, and I don't know if they do or they don't. I've said they should. You've basically taken the opposite stance. But I also think they'd like to bring back Michael Amadio. Pavel Dorofeyev is a restricted free agent. Caden Korzak is a restricted free agent. Now, those guys aren't going to get a ton of money,
Right.
but it adds up. I mean, Michael Amadio right now makes about $7.5 million a year. He makes just a little bit more than the league minimum.
$7.5 million a year?
I'm sorry, $760,000.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry, misspoke. Yeah, I was going to say Michael Amadio is a $7.5 million player. The Golden Knights are way overpaying, but Michael Amadio is going to get a nice raise.
Yes.
My guess is he probably doubles it, and he's probably 1.5, 1.7, $1.8 million a year. I don't think he quite gets to 2, but you've now put yourself in a position where you're almost assuredly going to lose William Carrier. You're going to lose Chandler Stevenson. Look, and I've been saying for months, if I'm Chandler Stevenson, I've got 2 Stanley Cups. I may like living in Las Vegas. I'm going to whoever's going to pay me the most amount of money. I would never fault the guy for getting his money. So I think
none of them. I don't fault any of them for getting their money.
Yeah, but I think of all of them, he's probably the most likely to be kind of left. I don't want to say left out, but I think he's probably the most or the least likely to re-sign now. Look, I don't know what's going on with Marchessault's head. I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know if he's going to take a hometown discount. I don't know if he wants to stay here. I don't know if he wants to go back to Montreal. I don't know. What I do know is that the Calgary Flames apparently, and this has been reported from multiple sources, offered Noah Hanifin $7.5 million a year. And he turned it down. Now, you might say, well, he took.
Come on.
He took less money.
$7.5 million Canadian dollars at 49% tax. Plus, come on. You can't go there. He's got 7.35 million clean US dollars to play here. That's 7.5. That's 7.5 in Calgary is a net of 3.75 million a year, not counting agent fee and all that other happy stuff.
And look, here's the other thing. These guys, like, people think, and they may not know, that when you make that money, that's your straight salary. Right. Like, if I'm a member of the team and I go on the road, and on that road trip we play in Boston, Toronto, Philadelphia, and let's just say Ottawa, I'm paying taxes in Philadelphia. I'm paying taxes in Massachusetts. I'm paying taxes in Ontario twice. Right. Regardless of what team I play for. Even if I play for Florida, who has no state tax, or Dallas or Vegas, you're still paying taxes in those states. So when you have your 41 home games, it makes a big difference to have 41 home games tax-free.
Sure.
As opposed to, look, if we saw this with Dodonov, I don't blame the guy. Look, Southern California is beautiful. It's a nice place. I'm sure if you're making a lot of money, it's a great place to live. If you're poor like me, I would never want to fucking live there. But if you're that guy, all of a sudden you're looking at 41 home games in Anaheim where the tax is 13% right off the top, state tax. Then you're paying your federal tax on top of that. So you're already down like 25% for 41 home games. Then you're going on the road for 41 home games. And you've got in your division 6 Canadian games, 2 in Vancouver, 2 in Edmonton, 2 in Calgary, that you're paying up the ass in taxes on. And that doesn't even include your games in other places. So for a guy who might only make $2 million a year, his take home might only be like $700,000. I know people are saying, "Hey, $700,000." Yeah, but when you're making $2 million a year and you only come home with $700,000, that's a big fucking difference. So I don't blame any guy who says, "You know what? I don't want to pay taxes." I never blamed Dodonov. I was on his side the whole way when it went down. And look, there was a mix-up with Ottawa, of course.
Right.
And I don't blame him one bit for being like, "No, fuck you. I'm not going to California. I'm not going to Anaheim." I don't blame him one bit. And notice when he re-signed or when he signed the new contract, you know where he went? He went to Dallas because he's a smart guy who knew about the tax stuff.
So I think it's fantastic. I think that our friend Ken put out some incredibly detailed analysis of the salary cap situation for next year. And maybe they have $1.8 million, but they have, like you had said earlier, all these UFAs and RFAs and stuff like that. This team is going to look significantly different next year. Significantly different. They have, what was it, $40 million locked up in five players, something like that. $42 million. I can't get the stat to pop up. But I think that the underlier. Go ahead.
Between Eichel, Stone, Pietrangelo, and
that's 27 and a half.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Hanifin makes it 34
and Hertl
and change.
Hertl is 6.75.
Right. Yeah, it's 42 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, you don't win without good players.
I think that the win now mentality, not the win always, because that's certainly, the driving force behind the Golden Knights. The win now causes a lot of disruption. But if you come here, that's the cost of doing business. They have shown that they have no, I don't want to say long-term plans, longer-term plans. They want cups now. They'll deal with everything else afterward. And, I still maintain my position. I would love for them to sign Marchessault. But Marchessault's 33 years old, and this is his last contract. And I suspect that he wants more than 2 years, because I don't think the Golden Knights are giving him 3. We also, since we're on the news part of the episode, we've seen Tomas Hertl now.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Chris, on your first take, your hot take on Tomas Hertl?
Well, he gets to the front of the net, and that's apparent. He's tough. He's tough to move out of the way. What I picked up that I really didn't know, and I think this is something that we're going to see more of, when you have a face-off, whether it's on a power play or it's on a 6-on-5, and you're deep in the opponent zone, he's the guy you're sending out there to win a face-off.
I agree 1,000%.
Because there was a moment the other night in that Vancouver game where he won 5 face-offs in a row, all in the 6-on-5, all in the same spot. Listen, he's a good player. That's an aspect of the game where the Golden Knights really seem to struggle. It doesn't matter if they send out Chandler Stevenson, William Karlsson, Jack Eichel. They seem to lose that offensive zone face-off when they're looking for a man advantage or they have that man advantage, I would say they probably lose it 6 out of 10 times. With a guy like Hertl, you probably now win that 6 out of 10 times. And starting with the puck on a power
Everything.
play
It's
or on a
everything.
6-on-5, yeah, it means everything. Like, one of the most frustrating things is when they pull the goalie and they don't really have possession of the puck, or they don't have good possession of the puck. Maybe it's in a corner somewhere, and they always seem to lose that puck battle. And what happens? They give up a goal. But I think with a guy like Hertl out there, all of that changes now. And I think you've now put yourself in a position where he's the one who's getting tapped. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him not anchoring, but on that top power play unit doing the face-off. To
Oh,
me,
I think that's a lock now.
I think it is. Yeah. Like, I mean, we'll maybe get a better idea tonight how many times he comes out for that offensive zone face-off, but he should be out there for every single one.
Yeah,
Even if it's at the end of a shift and he has to skate back to the bench after they win the face-off, you get possession of that puck. And
Yep.
he's already the best guy on the team to help you do that.
I think that, damn it, I can't remember where I read it. Jack Eichel said he was surprised how hard it was for him to win a faceoff in practice against Hertl. And listen, I was as shocked as you were, probably as shocked as anybody who follows hockey, that they got that Hertl deal done at 11:59 a.m. Pacific time on trade deadline day.
I think we were on the air, whatever. We were getting ready to do the show when it happened.
Yeah, and I think that in his first 2 games, he's passed the puck a lot, which is normal when you first come to a team. You don't want to look like Boss Hog with the puck. But you can see from game 1 to game 2, you can see him getting his legs underneath him. You can see that big body, what the effect of having him, not only for this year in the playoff run, but for the next 6 seasons. He's a significant cat for them. I mean, besides the fact he can play the wing and play the center, depending on how things shake out, specifically with Chandler Stevenson, because the other 3 are locked up for at least another couple of years. I think this is going to turn out to be these 2 signings are going to turn out to be the cornerstones, the foundations of the Golden Knights for the next 5 or 6 years. They're both just top tier NHL players. And I don't want to get over the fact that, Kelly McCrimmon puts on his mask and his gun and he starts robbing people 7 years in, and he's still doing it, and people are still doing it. And I think that we're a long way from knowing where Tomas Hertl is going to slot in, but we're not anywhere near a long way. I think we can already see what he's going to be and how much of a benefit and an advantage and a positive and a plus player that he's going to be for the Golden Knights for many, many, many years to come.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were able to get him, it shows you what they're thinking. And the reality is, the other aspect of that it shows you is Kelly McCrimmon is 3 or 4 moves ahead of everyone else. Like, I have no idea if the guy plays chess, but
dude, he beat Mr. Spock in that 4-dimensional. Sorry, that was an incredibly obtuse reference. This is a cat's tail, by the way. The chess game that Spock used to play on the 3 different levels in the original Star Trek. Yeah. He beat Spock at that, just so you know.
I mean, like, this team does not make a move without knowing 3 or 4 moves ahead.
Yeah, the ramifications of it.
I just started watching Boardwalk Empire, and I don't know if you've seen that, but
fantastic.
It's probably 10, 15 years old. Steve Buscemi is incredible. But I'm in the 2nd episode of season 2. But there's a character named Abe Rothstein in that show.
Yep.
And he's the guy who was involved with fixing the World Series and the Chicago Black Sox scandal and all of that. But there's a scene where he's explaining to these morons who they went ahead and did something stupid. And he explains to them why he's such a good gambler. And it's because he knows the outcome of things before he makes the bet. And that's how Kelly McCrimmon operates. He knows the outcome before he pulls the trigger on doing something. So he knows already what he's going to do, probably, I would say, up until next trade deadline already. My guess is he's already mapped out his entire summer and his entire offseason and what he has every intention on doing, who he's going to bring back, who he's going to trade, because I do think there is going to be a trade. Who it is, I don't know.
A big trade.
And I do, my suspicions are that it will be somewhere on the blue line. I just have that gut feeling.
Well, I mean, it almost has to be.
Yeah, because you've got a logjam of players in Henderson, Korczak, Lucas Cormier. You've got Ben Hutton here, who you certainly have to be happy with what he's given you.
He's a steal at 800,000.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bargain. But then you've also got Pavel Dorofeyev. You've got Brendan Brisson, who I would imagine they anticipate will be a full-time player next year, or at least they want him to be very close to that full-time player next year. So even at the forward position, I'm guessing he already knows. In fact, I'm taking the guess out of it. He and George McPhee know what this team is going to look like next season. Maybe minus a free agent or two that they might pick up over the summer. But this team doesn't build through free agency. They signed Pietrangelo as a free agent. But you look at all the big moves they've made. Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty. I'll even include Tomas Tatar, Robin Leonard, Noah Hanifin. Everything, Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel. How the fuck do I forget that? Every big move that they've made outside of Pietrangelo has been through a trade. And the thing is, every player that they target for a trade that they want to keep, they re-sign. Now, you knew they weren't going to re-sign Teddy Bluger. He was purely a rental. But this team knew last year when they traded for Ivan Barbashev, when Kelly McCrimmon told us that they had been scouting him for 58 games. You don't scout a rental for 58 games. You scout a player that you want to build into your franchise for 58 games. And that's what they did.
Let me ask you this. Anthony Mantha.
I think
or out
that's
next season?
An interesting one because he's played pretty well as of late.
After I ripped him a new asshole.
Yeah, but he clicks. He clicks with William Karlsson and Pavel Dorofeyev. Like, that's a good line.
Yeah.
And Mantha has probably looked better in the last 3 or 4 games than he did in the first 10. But I don't think he's going to get. I don't look at Anthony Mantha and say he's a $5 million player.
I'm inclined to agree with that.
Maybe 4.
But he if he keeps playing on this track,
you got to sign him.
And he has a decent playoff, assuming, of course, blah, 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 that they get there. He might, I don't want to say force their hand because nobody forces their hand. He may make it very difficult, make them make a very difficult decision because, I think when they brought him in for we're going to get what we can get and then we'll sort it out. One of those. Yeah. But, he might play his way into, hey, maybe he does belong here.
Yeah. Now his base salary, his AAV right now is $5.7 million. I would never re-sign him for $5.7 million.
No, $3.75 million.
Yeah. Even
Or
yeah. Maybe tops 4.25. I'm not giving him $5 million. He's 30. We know what he is. He's a 20-goal scorer. Probably not much more. I think that's an interesting one because I think he would be a backup plan if they're unable to get something done in other places. Now, if you move Shea Theodore, I think the possibility of re-signing him increases exponentially.
yeah, I mean, this is just fun to me. This is my favorite part because there's only two people that know, George and
Yeah.
Kelly, right?
Yep.
We're up
I
here
don't even
just
think Bill Foley knows.
yeah, no, we're just up here flying trial balloons all over the place, seeing what we can, so that one day we might be able to come back and say, "Hey, I said that in episode 75, I think." So
Yeah.
I can strain my shoulder, patting myself on the back again. I have a concern that I'd like to talk to you about. I'm concerned about Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah, this is a really strange
Illness and then back for 2 games and then illness again.
Illness. It's
yeah.
And I don't the crazy thing is they haven't put him on LTIR.
Right.
Now, I guess they still could well, maybe they can't because he came back and played those 2 games.
No, yeah, they can't. He would have to be gone the rest of the regular season for sure.
Yeah. So he was out during the road trip that they played really well. St. Louis, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Nashville. Then he came home, and I'm pretty sure he played in that Vancouver game that they won. No, you know what? Maybe it doesn't matter. Like the weird thing is he was sick, then he was healthy, and now he's sick again. And
that's my big concern. I'm like, normally, and all the years I remember, they've never used illness really as a reason. I mean, they used COVID when COVID was something, but that's to be expected. But I mean, is this like the flu bug, or I mean, God forbid it's something with one of the kids.
Again,
again. I mean, listen, it was a unbelievably horrific experience. I'm only a parent to a cat, so I can't really tell you, but I could only imagine, the story that he told us the first time we talked to him after he came back about how precarious the life of his daughter was. I mean, I hope and I pray that they're not just playing a little bit of hide and seek and it's not one of the kids. But if it's him, a guy who gets arguably the best medical care of just about anybody, I'm a little concerned that he's missed 2 pretty decent sized chunks of time under the headline of illness. That's very concerning to me. Now,
yeah, I think it should be concerning to everyone because, when I heard that he was out again due to illness, I started racking my brain as to what kind of illness it could be that it's carried on for multiple weeks. I mean, listen, I'm just throwing shit at the wall here, but I had the fucking walking pneumonia about 10 years ago. And I was the same age as Alex Pietrangelo. I was 34 at the time. He's 34 today, right now. Today's not his birthday. I'm saying today he's 34 years old. I was 34 at the time. I was not a professional athlete, but it kicked the shit out of me for 6 fucking weeks, I thought I was going to die. And I was misdiagnosed. Initially, I was diagnosed as having bronchitis, and I was treated for bronchitis, and it did not get better. I went back to the doctor. They did x-rays, and they said, well, whoever told you you had bronchitis was wrong because you've got walking pneumonia. It was horrible. I mean, it was about as I've never been so sick in my life. I thought I was going to die at night, just choking on my own fluids. It was awful. I hope for him that he does not have pneumonia, but for an illness to drag on this long, that's the type of thing that makes me think, well, multiple weeks. And I don't remember if I had a dip where I felt better. I just remember it sucked from the first day until the last day. And then eventually it was gone. And that was that. But it lasted a long time. And we're approaching 4 or 5 weeks that he's been dealing with this.
Yeah.
So we don't know what it is. We will never probably know unless he decides to tell us what he's dealing with.
Right.
I just hope the guy gets healthy. I don't even give a fuck about hockey. Like the guy's got what, 4 kids? He's got triplets. He's got a beautiful family. He's a nice guy. You know, you just hope it's not something that's going to impact him long term, because there are some nasty fucking viruses out there that can do that to you. And so you just hope that he's able to get better. And when he comes back, there'll be a spot waiting for him. But I'm sure that moment he comes back, we will all be very happy to see him. Not even from a hockey perspective. I really, really like the guy. Like, I enjoy having conversations with him. He's fucking unbelievably intelligent. I just hope he's okay. Like, you're sick, then you're healthy, and then you're sick again just a couple days later. It's pretty scary stuff.
Let's spend the last few minutes of this talking of this episode 76 of Hockey Nights in Vegas, brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor and Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net. Let's talk about the scenarios, because there's still quite a few different ways that the Golden Knights could play themselves into or out of a playoff spot. As it sits right now, the Golden Knights have 4 games to go, as we discussed earlier in the episode. All 4 are home games. They are 42, 28, and 8. They have 92 points. They are 3 points back of the Nashville Predators, and they have a game in hand with Nashville. They are 3 points behind the Kings with a game in hand, and they are, let's see, Edmonton is way out of reach.
They're not catching it.
They're not catching Edmonton. So it looks like the Golden Knights' possibilities are 2, and that's the second wild card. But I would say the second wild card, maybe 3. Let me edit that thought. Nashville is still catchable, because if there's a 1-point difference if they win. If Nashville continues, there's a little bit of bad play and slide. Nashville's a little bit catchable. So wild card 1, wild card 2, and third place in the division are still in the air, with the Golden Knights having 4 games left in the season, the other 2 teams having 3 games. Edmonton could win out and catch Vancouver.
Yeah, and they can win the division.
They can still win the division. And
they play tomorrow night. And
Edmonton and Vancouver play tomorrow.
What's that?
They play tomorrow night?
I believe so. I know they play this weekend. So long story short, it's Vancouver at Edmonton tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Hockey night in Canada, I'm sure.
Yes.
look, it's pretty simple. If you're Vegas, you either want to win these next 4 games and hope that Edmonton catches Vancouver, because then you're playing Vancouver,
Well,
or
you're playing Vancouver unless LA wins out.
Then you're fucked because then you're playing Edmonton or Dallas
or Colorado.
Oh, Dallas is going to win the division. Colorado is going to have to do the hard road and go through Edmonton or go through Winnipeg to get there. But in fact, I think Dallas may have actually did. I don't. If Dallas won last night, and they didn't win last night, I don't think
Dallas
they
50,
lost.
21,
They
and
lost.
9, 109 points.
Their next win, they clinch the division. The Stars. What you don't want to be if you're the Golden Knights is 8, because if Edmonton catches Vancouver, you're either playing Edmonton or Dallas in the first round. And then if you're playing Dallas, then you're playing the winner of
Winnipeg,
Colorado in the second round. That road becomes a lot more difficult than if you play Vancouver in the first round. They've put themselves in a really precarious situation with their inability to really close some of these games out.
They need 3 points, you think? There's a clinch scenario, right?
They could clinch tonight because
they could have clinched last time.
St. Louis plays Carolina in St. Louis, the Gateway City. That's a 5:00 game. If St. Louis loses that game outright, no overtime, basically if they lose in regulation, Golden Knights need 1 point to clinch a playoff spot.
Any way they can get it.
And you go to overtime, you clinch a playoff spot. Or if St. Louis goes into regulation and they lose, and you win in regulation, you're in. Now, if St. Louis wins in regulation, you can't clinch tonight. But you can get a hell of a lot closer. I mean, it'd be nice to go into these last 3 games knowing you only need 1 point. It'd be even better to go into these last 3 games knowing you've already clinched. It'd be nice to take the ice on Sunday when the Avalanche roll in knowing you're in the playoffs already.
Can you imagine if you think back to when the schedule was released? Can you imagine a scenario where 2 home games against the Anaheim Ducks and the Chicago Blackhawks could possibly determine the fate of the Vegas Golden Knights this year?
I never would have thought we'd be in that situation.
This is seriously, this is like science fiction. This is, it's different if you're like Bruce says, if you're getting to your game. The Golden Knights aren't anywhere near their game. They've shown us that they might not know what their game is yet. But
you find what you think of your game for a couple games, and then you go back to not having much game.
I think, this is fantastic. Like you said, we're going to get to the rink tonight to watch the farewell game, in my opinion, of Marc-Andre Fleury. Farewell game at the Fortress.
Could be the last time we ever see him play.
I think we should make a point to maybe go to the visitors' room tonight.
Yeah, I saw him the last time the Wild were here. And, I'd like to talk to him and we'll see. We'll see how – look, if the Golden Knights clinch a playoff spot, unfortunately, I won't be able to go say hello to Marc-Andre. Right. But, look, if the Wild win tonight and Fleury is good, you got to go talk to him.
You have to. Yeah. Everybody on the road should go talk to him and pay homage. All right, let's finish up. I would be sad to see Marc-Andre Fleury get a win tonight, but it's some ass-puckering, fun stuff, content for us to talk about. Yeah. I like ending these things with predictions. So have at it, young fella. Where are the Golden Knights going to finish in the standings, and who is their first-round opponent going to be?
They are going to finish 8th in the standings.
Oh.
and they are going to play the Dallas Stars in the first round.
Wow. So
a rematch of last year's Western Conference final.
So you think that Dallas is going
I just think that LA will win enough games to stay ahead of the Golden Knights. Like LA right now has 3 games left, and I think it's Anaheim and San Jose for 2 of those 3. I take that back. They play Anaheim tonight, they play Minnesota on Monday, and then they play Chicago on Thursday. So they're in a position where they're playing all 3 teams that are out of the playoffs. 2 of them are jockeying for the number 1 pinball or number 1 ping pong ball,
whatever it's called,
in whatever the fuck they use in the bracket. I think Nashville, when I look at their schedule, and the Predators have clinched a playoff spot, they're in Chicago, and then they finish up with Columbus and Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh could be playing for a playoff spot, but
they are
the
now.
Predators finish up on Monday. They're done on Monday. They've got 3 games in the next 4 nights, and then they're done. So you may not be able to catch them depending on what they do in their final 3 games. I mean, the Golden Knights still have 2 games left after Monday. They play Tuesday and Thursday. So I think the problem is I think the Golden Knights will lose to Colorado. So I think that makes it a lot more difficult to catch LA and to catch Nashville. So I think they're going to end up 8th, and I think Dallas will end up winning the Western Conference. They'll be the number 1 overall seed in the Western Conference, and I think that road goes through Texas. It's not the preferred road, that's for sure.
No,
but I think the Golden Knights, they've played themselves into that position.
Well, when you break it down like that, I'm pretty much forced to agree. I'd love to come up with some incredible avant-garde theory, but I don't see a way for them to play themselves out of the 8th spot unless Los Angeles just takes a total dump. And even if they took a total dump, they're still better than, who they're playing.
Yeah, and I think for the Stars, they've got 109 points. They've only got 2 games left, but they're playing the Kraken in one of them, which I think is tomorrow. I think they play the Kraken. And then they finish up with St. Louis. So they could end up being your friend if you're the Golden Knights, and that you may need them to beat. You hope it doesn't come down to that, but you may need them to beat the Blues. So I just don't see Vancouver or Edmonton having the runway. I guess if Edmonton wins out, they could catch Dallas, depending on what happens in these last 2 games. But Dallas has 109 points with 2 games left. Edmonton has 101 with 5 games left.
5 left.
So the most they could get to is 111.
Dallas wins 2. Dallas needs to win 2 to lock everything up.
Yeah, but anybody. They win tomorrow against the Kraken. They're already at 111. So that means Edmonton has to win out, and then they go to the tiebreaker. Dallas right now has 50 39 regulation wins. No. Edmonton has 38, so it's pretty close.
No. Dallas has 47 regulation and overtime wins. Edmonton has 46.
Okay.
So that's still in the air. So the only way that they can absolutely lock it up is to win
if
both
they
games.
win out, Dallas loses 2.
Right. That's the only way. So I wish I had a great prediction for you, but I see the Golden Knights backing themselves into the playoffs probably tonight. And it's going to be a tough road. I mean, can you imagine Dallas, Colorado just to get to whoever comes out of the Pacific side of things?
That's why you're happy when you see the news that Mark Stone was skating today.
Yeah. Wow. We got through a lot of stuff in 50 minutes today. So let's wrap up because we have a hockey game to get ready to go to.
We do.
Episode 76 is in the books. Thanks as always to the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com, and Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, www.agelessforever.net, concierge medicine for the stars and for the regular people just like me. We're going to try to ramp up the content. We're definitely going to have a playoff preview show coming up. And then we're having a prediction show. Once we get the bracket, we are going to do brackets and we're going to pick winners and we're going to bet pizza on it. That's what I've decided for this year because pizza, everybody loves pizza.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Episode 76 is in the books. We are out of here. We'll see you again in a few days.